All right, my guest today is Malcolm. Malcolm and I worked together selling BMWs 12 or so years ago. He's currently self-employed with his own custom window coverings business, Ambitious Blinds. You can find him online. Malcolm is what I would call a journeyman salesman. He sold the full spectrum of products and services, including but not limited to knives, vacuum cleaners, funerals, wireless, furniture, banking, sporting goods. And that's not all. So lots to talk about, lots of stories. So welcome, Malcolm, and thanks for doing this with me.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I appreciate it. Everybody wants to be a little bit famous, you know what I mean? And I
You know what?
appreciate you
You're going to be
you getting me on
overwhelmed
here.
with the adoration and fame that comes from doing this podcast. You will get literally tens of views.
Oh, there you go. Reviews is all I need. There you go. Got to get that 5 minutes of fame.
That's why I appreciate you doing
Maybe
this,
it'll
because
be all ridicule.
well, maybe, but hey, all publicity is good publicity, right? But like, that's why I
That's
really
right.
appreciate people doing this, because this is new and it's small and we just want to have fun with it. But all right,
Oh,
first
yeah.
question. So
It's grassroots, baby.
exactly. I referred to you as a journeyman salesman. Um, some might refer to you as a whore. Which
Yeah.
which would you prefer?
I prefer jack of all trades and master of none. The man that never sits still. That would be me. Or a whore. Yeah, a whore is good. You know what I mean?
I'll
I,
take
I,
it.
I went where the money is. You want to
Well,
make a lot of money, that's where it's at.
I don't feel bad calling you that because I deserve that label too. I bounced around a lot in my career, and this current job is the longest I've ever had one because it's self-employment, which is kind of a job for life, and you never go back, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I was kind of thrust into self-employment when I first moved to Calgary, kind of thing, because in 2006 I moved out here, and I moved with a company called like Super Blinds and Drapery out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. And there are like those buildings downtown, like Metro, Sasso, New Era, and everything like that. Everything was going great. It was awesome. I
So you had
was
contracts for all
selling
those
lots.
high rises.
Yeah, we were selling all those blinds, and I had installation people and everything like that, and it was fantastic. And we did this one development way down south. It was under this guy named Pereira, so Pereira Developments. So it's right on James McKibbett. And here's how dumb we are as a company at that time. Everybody, no excuses. I used to work for this guy named Glenn Carr, and he he was originally from Manitoba. He came out to Alberta, made tons of money in oil and gas, and then went back to Manitoba and bought the company known as Super Blinds and Drapery. And his hard and fast rule was we always get 50% no matter what. Or at least every time you do like a level, you're getting paid for that level.
What do you mean? Sorry. What do you mean by you'll do 50%? What's 50%?
So 50% of the sale. So like in order to get everything like the manufacturing of the products going. So this is blind sales at that point, right? To go into this high rise. Well, it's actually not just a high rise. If you know where Pereira Development is, it's like a whole bunch of townhouses around this one, two towers kind of thing. And then behind it has like a church. It's just off of James McKibbett
I know
and
the
Cloud
one.
Trail kind of thing.
There's a
Sits
case
back there.
study in the condo class I took. Yeah, because it went to shit.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I can tell you crazy stories about
You're in
that
the middle of
place.
that, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. So guy that um he was, what is it called? He was the commercial sales manager. His name was, what the hell? It'll come to me.
Doesn't matter.
Carl was his name. Can't remember his last name. Anyways, Carl was one of these guys that like I worked underneath in the sales, and I was here in Calgary, so I managed all the like I was the sales force, and then they had I hired a whole bunch of guys to do installations and stuff like that. Carl did this on good faith. He was like, what are you thinking, man? Doing this shit on good faith. And so Herrera would be like, oh, yeah, we'll get you a check. We'll get you a check. Meanwhile, this slug of a human being was just closing up shop slowly but surely because he
Oof.
didn't pay any trades. Like, no trades were being paid, like from electrical to plumbing to you name it. And everybody's building this building. And so in the end, I had finished, like my guys and I, we finished the whole entire first tower, finished the whole second tower. We're working on all the townhouses. And then Carl's like, you got to stop. I was like, what do you mean? All the products here. What do you want us to do? He's like, you got to stop. This guy is pulling out. And that guy that owned Pereira Development, he just went all the way to Ontario. He closed up shop and relinquished the property. So the bank also was, holding the bag of that whole entire
Hmm.
property and everything. And trades were coming back in and taking out product. Like Trail of
Yeah.
Florence, I think,
Nobody
also
got
lost
paid.
a bundle of money. Oh, no, not one person, not one
Yeah.
person. And it was awful,
Brutal.
awful. And my guys started busting stuff because they know they're not going to get paid and all sorts of stuff. Like
Like, fuck
it was
this.
not a good scene. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I remember
it
they used
was
that as a
fucking
case study
awful.
because that project went broke mid construction, got foreclosed and court sold, and then people that put their deposits down thought they were getting these kind of swanky townhomes, and then it got turned into like a adult living, senior living facility. Like, didn't build half the stuff that they promised, and what a shit show. Well, it's
They
funny
had
because
a
you said,
big gaping hole too
oh yeah,
that they
yeah.
didn't build right.
Right, and it was on the side of a hill, like it was a little bit sketchy. I remember, like
Also,
you said 2006, and I'm thinking as soon as you said 2006, I'm thinking like, okay, I know it's coming, right? Because 2006, everybody's killing it. Everybody in every
yeah,
industry, it's a bubble, right? Everyone's killing it, and
dude,
we
it
know
was
it's coming.
sick. Oh yeah, it was. I had honestly I had made really crazy money selling cell phones. But then when in 2006, when I was here, 2006, 7, 8, I think we made hay all the way up till I want to say 2012 or something like that, even with the blinds thing. And even when I was working at BMW, right? All I had to do was manage the projects that were going on, and everybody was making boom, 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 boom. I couldn't even spend the money how fast it was coming in. It was nuts.
Hmm.
And then Pereira came in, and we lost a tune of $254,000
Oof.
worth of blinds, like gone. Like we were gonna earn like ridiculous amount of money on that project because it didn't take us long to go in, put up the stuff, and go right. Um, and so that was there, and then we did still have like what's it called, Cove property. So those new era, Vetro, Sasso, all those buildings
High
going.
rises, yeah.
And then, oh yeah, and I freaking loved it. And as I got to almost the condos of new era, not condos, the penthouses, and we were putting in some crazy shit in the penthouses. It was going to be awesome. I get a call from my mom because I hadn't got paid. And so she is out in Winnipeg, and she's just like, so I went to Super Blinds, and it's not a good situation. Don't come out here, she says. I was like, what is that supposed to mean? And I was at BMW at the time, so I'm about to lose my mind. She's like, no, I'll tell you afterwards. And I was like, oh, that's the worst thing ever. Why did you even tell me that there's something going down? So when I finally get home, because my mom is the type of person that she'll tell me something, she'll give me that kick, and she will stick to it. She will not tell me that stuff until she knows I'm at home, I'm sitting down, and I'm whatever. So I call her back, and then she's like, "So Super Blinds is no more." I was like, "The hell do you mean Super Blinds is no more?" She's like, "Yeah, I went there, and there were the people that I used to work for, like or work with. I say for just because it felt that it was bestowed on me to keep on bringing in contracts to keep the plant people happy, because that's what I was
Right.
always told. Like, you know what? you sell this, you're helping Lena and Nikki and all these people that are in the back that you respect and love, and they're just cranking out all this product for you.
You know what? I'm going to
Um,
pause you there because I
yeah,
love that. I love that mindset. And even like working in car dealerships, I had a general manager that said like, look, guys, um, you know, everybody might hate your guts here at the dealership, you know, the parts guys and the technicians and the admin people and the rest of it. Um, he goes, but nobody gets paid here until somebody sells a car. And so I love that you take on that on your back. Like it, there's all these people are kind of relying on you, even though if maybe you're
yeah,
not a partner or an owner, but you've got to generate business for the people in manufacturing and distribution and everything else to have a job, right? Like nothing happens until somebody goes out and sells a contract. I love that. But anyways,
absolutely.
I want to ask too.
Sure.
See, you got burned, right? So
Hard.
I had a question in here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you the question then, but this kind of ties in because I said you're one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with. You're the friendliest guy, and I was going to ask you, can nice guys be great salesmen? And I wonder if an experience like that kind of hardens you a little bit, it makes you a lot more cautious, or maybe lowers your risk tolerance going into the next deal, or do you how does that affect your mindset?
No, honestly, I and I'm not trying to toot your horn or BMW's horn or anything like that. If I didn't have that, I think I would have. Um, I lost faith in people because I used to work with Carl and with Glenn for a long time. Like I had been working for with these guys since I came back from Arizona, right? So it would have been like 2004 up until to 2000. I think it was 2011, somewhere in there. Oh no, it would have been. I was still working at. I was just starting at BMW, so it's probably 2013 or whatever, right? And these guys just took out my heart. And the thing that, yeah, I was pissed off about the money because it wasn't a little bit of money because I lost out on career development, uh, the full commission. I didn't get paid. Like I had all those guys work. Those guys got paid because I mean it's labor and you got to get it in and stuff like that. But I didn't get any of my commission for that one. And then my mom told me that they closed up the shop and Nikki and Lena. So Lena, I loved her. She's such a little sweetheart. She was like, I don't know, she's probably already in her 60s or 60s. She wasn't going to be working anywhere for long term and stuff like that. This was the plan for her.
Yeah.
And like her and Nikki and uh forget the little old guy's name, but he was so awesome too.
So
All of
it's a
them, my mom
betrayal.
says are,
You feel like you let them
oh,
down.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't close up the shop, and my mom said all these people are outside the thing, and that just broke my heart. And I was like, "Dang, well, what am I gonna do?" And I was like, "Well, I have BMW." And then I was like, "What are they gonna do? Like, this is crazy." And I know we were putting through contracts. We had the next building of uh, New Era because New Era is the first building, first class building. Like we did Vetro, we did Sasso, we were just about to complete New Era, and then they were building the second tower already. And Coke Properties are quick. They're, Vetro, if people didn't know, it was their very, very first uh, tower that they ever built because Cove Properties comes out of Edmonton. And I say this because they had a pretty epic fail in the Vetro tower because when they're building those slabs, what ended up happening is it didn't cure and settle properly. So on I want to say it was the north and the south side, the slab started curving. Not to the fact that so much that it's inhabitable, but enough that it started cracking not only the walls but the actual glass on the outside. Because
Oh
keep in
shit.
mind that's their first freaking tower that you're building, right?
Yikes.
And all the sides, like on the inside, when you go into these places, and if anybody's ever been to Metro or Sasso, they have these great big Jesus freaking pillars in those corner units and stuff like that. And right behind that, these cracks going up to the ceiling. If it was full wall or if it was glass, it went through glass and up through the wall, and it was freaking stupid.
Now imagine the sales
So
guy that's got to sell that new apartment to someone with a big crack up the side of the wall.
what was the effed up thing? They, you
Just
know,
stand in front of the crack.
Vetro. Yeah, no, but oh, sorry, and it was Sass. Was it Sasso? Yeah, it was Sasso that was first. But that freaking building, it was already pre-sold. Like like you were saying, people were making hay, man. So
Mm-hmm.
they pre-sold like 60, 80% of that building. So
Right.
those people that were either living in there or got it as rent, it was like, well, we're gonna fix the. Don't worry about it. It was the thing. It's
We
under
got this
your
engineer says it's
warranty.
safe. Don't worry. Well, the building's still
Right.
standing. I've been in there, so fingers
Oh
crossed
yeah,
for those people.
it's a beautiful building, but that was their very first foray, and then the other one, they improved those things. They realized, hey, we have to cure this slab a lot longer, kind of deal. So that was kind of interesting. But like getting back to like, super lines and drapery, I would have been inclined to go out there and be like, lose my mind because I think I can go from 0 to 100, but it takes me a long time to get there. You know what I mean? Like just like you said,
You had your heart
easygoing,
broken.
nice guy, but I wanted to punch that guy. I was like thinking, hey, can I find his kid so then I can find him so I can get revenge? But no, that never panned out.
They're called intrusive
Um,
thoughts.
yeah, I didn't act on it. Okay, everybody, I didn't act on it.
Clearly,
I wanted
clearly,
to, but I
nobody
didn't.
was harmed. I'm
Nobody
gonna.
was harmed in
I was
things.
gonna say
Yeah.
you've bounced around a lot. I want to dig into some of your past jobs, but I want
Sure.
to ask this question as kind of a theme. It's kind of a theme to this podcast. It's something that I'm trying to drive at with all these guests that I speak with. But you bounced around a lot, which I think is probably typical of salespeople. It was for me, looking for always looking for a better deal or the next gig or the next opportunity, like almost like a
Same
gambling
here.
addict, right? But I want to
I
ask
need my
you
fix.
exactly. I want to ask you what's one thing that's consistent for you working in sales, whether you're at a funeral home or a wireless kiosk or a BMW dealership or custom window coverings.
It was the money. Like honestly, it was you know, I don't think of myself too much of a greedy person, but I was definitely motivated by money. Like every little step I took was always, oh, okay. Not necessarily the grass is greener, but the green is greener on that side. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a lot more scratch. Like that's why I started off at like I cut my no pun intended. I cut my lips on freaking Cutco knives, door to door selling, and I was probably I want to say it was 17 years old, running around with all these freaking knives and stuff like that, the butcher knife and shit, and walking into people's houses, and it was interesting. I had no fear of knocking on people's doors and anything like that because my mom indoctrinated me into her a million of her canvassing efforts. So like I was always used to going to people's doors and asking for money.
So it
But
runs in your
this time
family.
I actually had something to give. What's that?
So it runs in your family. There's a gene. Maybe we're
Oh
maybe we're
yeah.
discovering something here. But you said like you're motivated by money, and I can't say I disagree. Like looking back on my career and all the dozens of places I worked, it's like I think I make a little more money there. Maybe sometimes motivated by seniority too, but it's also the money that came with that, right? So
Absolutely.
maybe that's something common with all salespeople, like chasing the dollars.
Oh, absolutely. Something that stuck with me from I want to say it was no, it was the guy from Kirby. Kirby vacuums. So I went from Cutco to those freaking Kirby vacuums. I don't know if you ever saw them. They look like freaking things from the Jetsons. I know I'm dating myself. Like it was a weird looking thing. It had water in there and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, it's the most powerful vacuum ever. And I remember the guy that I say conned me into selling that because I was selling Cutco knives and I came up to this freaking guy's door to sell him knives. And he turned around and
He
gave
poached
me
you.
a job. And he's like, you know what? I like your moxie, son. You should be selling a product. And he's like, tell me more. And
He
he's like, yeah,
trafficked you.
look at this. And he even showed me the vacuum. He's like, look at this. He's throwing stuff
He
on
ran you
his
through the
van and he's
pitch.
vacuuming. Yeah, dude, the whole entire pitch. And I was just like, Mom needs a new vacuum. You could sell this stuff. And then he was telling me, Malcolm, greatest thing about commission sales is like it's not for everybody. Like you can write your own check. And I was like, I can write my own check. That means I can get paid. And he's like, you get paid for what you do. Think about that. It's the simplest thing ever. And I'm like, yes, let's do it.
You could
So I
you
joined,
can give yourself a
jumped
raise
shop from
anytime.
Cutco. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. If you put in the work, you should, in theory, always earn more money. Like, you, and he's just like,
Well,
you have a
see,
blank check. You don't have to trade money for time like everybody else to
right.
make that hit. I was like, I'm sold.
Well, I
Let's
think
do it.
there's two types of people, right? Because there's you and me that hear that and go, yeah, I like that. I can give myself a raise. I decide how much I'm worth. And then there's the other person that goes, what if I don't get paid? What if I don't
That's
sell
right.
anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I don't know.
They're
You're gonna
always
have to
all
listen
about
to
stability.
yeah, and that's maybe that's more of another common thread is that you know maybe people like you and me aren't too concerned about stability. We're just looking for the next opportunity, right? You're gonna have to listen to
Right.
episode 2 with Graham because he had some stories about vacuum cleaners. I'm pretty sure they were Kirby too, and I remember the pitch because it was like it's made out of magnesium. It's the same material they use in the space shuttle.
That's totally true. And it's so funny. Like they even had pictures. I remember the the briefcase that they asked me to carry. And keep in mind, at that time, I was 17 selling those freaking knives. I was probably around 18 selling these vacuum cleaners door to door and stuff like that. And they give you like this briefcase. Taylor, I'm telling you, I felt so special. I got a briefcase. Mom doesn't have a briefcase. And my mom is like, big in care operations. He's the director of operations and stuff like that. And I was thinking to myself, she doesn't carry a briefcase. I do. Look at this. And I had all these stupid freaking cards in there to show, like, what the vacuum can do. And then I'd always go into people's houses and, like, oh, like, even if I wasn't really welcome, I'd always do that dirt thing and throw it on their freaking thing, like, as long as I'm already in the door, so to speak. And I'm bring your vacuum. I'll show you. And then some people were sold. They're like, oh my God. But those things were expensive back in the day. Like, fuck.
2-3
But
grand or
hey,
something.
oh yeah. They put people on payment
Pure
plans and all
profit.
sorts of stuff all day long. I bet you they made those vacuums for probably like 250,
If
maybe.
that, yeah.
And
Some
just
factory in China.
everything else. Oh fuck yeah.
How many
It
of those did
was
you sell?
nuts. Oh, you know what? I want to say so. I did that for probably 7 months, and
That's
the funny
impressive.
thing is, yeah, I didn't think I would ever last that long, but it was literally kind of like a drug because the days that I didn't sell anything, I was like so down, and I was like, oh man, I suck. Like, how am I gonna? But I wasn't concerned about the money. I was just like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. And then I'd sell one, and I was like, I'm the man. I was like making it rain, going to the bar in Winnipeg, and
Buying rounds.
all day long, baby, all day long. And then
Is
I
there
found the cell phones. Oh, cell phones were crazy. What were you gonna say?
what is there a drug on earth that's as good as the high you get when you make a sale? I mean, I that never gets old. I've been in sales my whole adult life, and like getting a deal done. Just like I think we're chasing that buzz too, as much as the money.
Oh yeah. I think I get more like I mean, I love smoking weed. I don't get that same like the gratification of completing a deal, even now, like even the deals that I make that are small, even selling window coverings. And keep in mind, I mean, I'm the guy from start to finish. Basically, all I have to do is communicate with the manufacturer, and then they send the thing. But every time I sell something, I'm like, oh man, this is why I'm in it. I'm like so happy, and it doesn't matter if I make like the craziest $10,000 sales of like a person's whole entire house and they wanted all automation, or like I sell, 4 windows or whatever. To me, it all makes sense.
Feels good.
I do find it harder now because like there's a lot of blind companies up in this place. I've been around for a very long time, and then now there's these guys that are literally manufacturing things at home, and I was like, "Hey, I can compete with that." But I'm always the guy that I ain't dropping my pants. I'm like, if people like me, they'll enjoy the product. If they don't like me, it is what it is. I'll just
Yeah.
move on and get the next person because even at another young age, my mom was telling me, "Not everybody's gonna like you, son. You're not everybody's flavor." She'd always tell me that all the time. And I'm like, "Rick, why can't everybody like me?" And she's like, "Don't try to to make people like you. They'll either like you or they not, and it's fine. Just deal with that." I was like, "Okay, okay, no problem."
I'd be
But it
shocked
took
to
a
find
few.
that someone didn't like you. Come on, I don't believe you.
Well, I can tell you a lot of people who like people that I've told no to, or
Right.
like I'm not perfect. I've screwed up some blind installations, and I know there's people that may be watching here or whatever. They'll be like, "Oh, take that fucking
That
guy,"
motherfucker.
because I made a mistake. But that happens. I mean,
You
it
gotta.
is what
We're
it is.
human. So,
Yeah, man.
you survived 6 months, 7 months. Well, go back to the Cutco knives. How long were you hawking Cutco knives for?
Mm, so
And you're just a
I
kid
want
here,
to
right?
say. Yeah, yeah, I'm only 17 at that
Right.
time. So I started, actually, I'm pretty sure I remember this correctly. Like I started the winter of when I turned 17 because I know like it was like full on in December. It's like trying to hustle all these knives, boom, 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 boom. And then I met the guy, I want to say in like February or something like that for Kirby, and then that was it. So that would have been October, November, December, January. Yeah, like 4 months or something like that.
Okay. So we
And
got 4 months Cutco knives, another seven. So practically a year, and this is going inside strangers' homes, right?
door to door. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you pick up a gig in wireless, kind of a different perspective, right? Like, are you at a call center? Are you at a kiosk? Are you at like a retail store?
No, I'm at a retail. Well, they at the time they called them dealerships as well. And the cool thing is, I'm so old. At the time, cellular penetration. The reason why I was so like friggin' enthralled with like cell phones. A, not everybody had them. So
They're
then
new.
had
Yeah,
me working there, the demo phone, which was the freaking bomb, man. Like when I was selling cell phones, those were the times where clients were like, you get 50 minutes during the day, unlimited evening and weekends or whatever for like $50 or $35 and stuff like that. And nobody signed a contract that was shorter than like 2 years, right?
right.
So those were great heydays because I worked for Cantel AT&T. So long before it even became Rogers, right? Like I even in the transition of them becoming Rogers AT&T, I was there for that whole entire thing. And that happened like right after basically. So I finished with Kirby. I jumped over to Cantel AT&T and T, and I was making hay. So I did.
So what year is this?
So that is good question. 1999.
99.
And I know that for a fact because everybody's like, "Oh my God, Y2K is happening," and we in the cell phone industry is, "What are you talking about?"
Like
I
BlackBerry hadn't
was
even been
five.
invented yet. Like you're selling flip phones. Like they don't even like there's not even
Yeah,
text messages yet.
no, I'm selling Motorola 550 phones, which they dubbed them the brick phones. They're not actually the brick phone. There was all those bag phones. I even sold a lot of those bag phones.
Yeah.
Truckers used to love those bag phones. They had a big, massive battery. And I think it made people feel important, but it was like NiCad batteries, so like they were almost throwaway phones just because they're wicked expensive. They would last I'm a good amount of time. We'll say like maybe I don't know 6 months before the stupid battery ended up getting a memory in there,
They got
and then
about
you'd
50
have these
charge
truckers
cycles
going.
before the battery's nuked. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They're like, should I get a new battery or should I get a new phone? And I'd be like, I would switch them from those big ass bag phones to like those 550 phones, and they'd be like, where were these all my life? And looking back now, I'm like, oh, those phones were garbage too. But they were smaller, they were easy, and the truckers used to love them and stuff. I was actually, here's how stupid your friend is, me. Okay, I have buddies that were working with me at Cantel. We were just changing over to Rogers. Research in Motion literally came to our dealership, like one of their salespeople, and they're like, "This is going to be a big thing. You guys can buy." I think their stock at the time was 35 cents, so they gave us a
Oh,
break on it, 25 cents. Now, I all my Jewish homies out there, you guys are very smart. So my buddy Kafir, my buddy Devin, smartest dudes known to man. They threw in. I don't even think they bought all that much. They probably let's say 100 shares. So maybe $250 that these freaking guys paid, right? I know Devin and Kafir cashed those things out. $81. Think about that. I
fuck.
had the same opportunity, myself and my good friend Will. And both of us are like, no, because we couldn't see anything about pagers. Pagers were dying. We had like our pager rep from Rogers, Ron Jones, great dude. This tall, like British dude, a black dude, like super tall. Looks like Idris Alba kind of deal.
Yeah.
Comes in and he's like, "This new company is coming in. It's Research in Motion. I'm gonna bring the person over." So he brings them over, and then they offer us, these stocks. And we're thanks. And they're like, "Oh, this is gonna take over for alphanumeric pagers and stuff, and you can actually respond back and forth." Like Research in Motion created so many crazy things that people take for granted, like I want to say they were the first to have their own like kind of email server because that's
Hmm.
how that thing would communicate and everything. And keep in mind at this time, texts were actually starting to happen because now you have like the 6160 Nokia, which is like a real typical freaking phone. Um, like there was like 5190, all these different Nokias. Nokia was dominant at that time, which text was great. But then you had this full quirky keyboard. And I remember the first prototype of that stuff, and we're like, who the hell's going to buy this? They were
Yeah,
like
of course.
this tall. They had a massive screen on
It's
there,
like a piece
and
of
then it was
toast.
texting. Yeah. And
Click,
they're
click, click,
like,
click, click.
well, it's a pager. And we're like, no, people want phones. That you can't talk on this thing. Why the hell is anybody going to get them? And lo and behold, people started buying them like crazy. And then those freaking guys decided to make phones. But at that point in time, when they were making actual cell phones, I was almost on my way out of Rogers. But I had no idea. Like, we thought pagers dead. Who the hell needs it? Like, maybe doctors,
Drug dealers.
maybe the odd lawyer. Nobody needs it. There's no communication. But that email was the key. The fact that you could do email back and forth from these stupid little pagers, who would have knew? And they're so secure too. Like, they were the most secure device that you could get. Like,
Yeah,
you could
people don't
tap
realize that
anything
it
and
was a
get
private BlackBerry server that exchanged everything. Everything went through there, and it was buttoned down tight.
yeah, shit was double encrypted, man. It'd leave me and it'd come to you, and it was encrypted on both sides. So unless you had that freaking key, you can't intercept
But
nothing.
then the goddamn server would
It's,
crash every now and then, and the
this is
whole
true.
network would be out. Remember BBM?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, dude.
Like
Those
we take that for
that's
granted
like
now that
BlackBerry.
yeah,
Hmm.
we take that for granted now, like instant messaging with each other. It goes nonstop. But then like at the time that was revolution. I didn't get my first one until 2006. I worked at a Toyota store. I was a assistant used car manager. It was mandatory. Managers had to have them, right? I was like, this fucking stupid thing, but and then I still hung on to BlackBerry when they were dead. Like I still, I was still using
You
one.
and me both.
Yeah, remember like BlackBerry
Do
10? It
you?
was like their attempt at a smartphone, and I was like, this is just as good as any iPhone or Android shit. And I love that. Finally, I gave in. I'm like, all right, it's over. I had to let go.
I had what the Priv and that stupid one with the. Remember they had it was their attempt to give you haptic touch,
Mm.
and this whole screen would go in.
Oh
And I was
yeah.
just like, there's a flaw to this. And I remember people getting, like, I wasn't selling cell phones at that time, but I remember people complaining about their phone, like the screen just sticking. And then they couldn't get that haptic
Right.
touch. They could still use the phone, but all that whole feedback was gone, kind of deal, which was kind of funny because that's one of the ones that they did. I think the keyboard slid from behind it, and the
I
screen
had
was
that
the
one.
one that could go. Yeah,
I had them
I
all,
had
and
the
then I had
Priv
the
and
I
the
had the
big long
Priv, and then
passport.
the Bold, and then yeah, the later ones were pretty cool.
With Pearl. Oh man, everybody loved that stupid
Everyone
little
had the
Pearl
Pearl.
with
Yeah, that
hidden
little
needle.
trackball on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask you. So
Mhm.
we were talking the other day, kind of planning this out, and you mentioned a name that I haven't heard in 12 years. An old customer from BMW. This guy was like, you don't have to say his name on here. This guy was like for anyone listening. This guy was like a very successful doctor and just addicted to new BMWs. Like it came and bought another one every year, sometimes twice a year, and
Yeah.
he was a lot of fun to deal with. And you're at his house installing blinds. So I wanted to ask, like, that was 12, at least 12 years ago. Um, I wanted to ask you, like, all these different all these different sales positions you've done. Have you maintained your database going all the way back?
Yeah. Well, not going all the way back, but like at least going back to BMW, I did keep in touch with more than a handful of customers, and I've done things for them both from BMW standpoint to like blinds to like even furniture when I did a little bit of furniture action and stuff like that. Yeah, like he's one of them that I have always maintained like a relationship with him. Like there's actually several, actually we would have dubbed them all Ed Otto's customers, kind
Oh
of,
yeah.
right? So I maintained relationships with all of those dudes. Like absolutely love them. So like anytime they needed something or whatnot, people would call on me. To this day, I remember this one guy that I absolutely love him. He had a wicked accident in his X6, but ever since that accident, he's like, I will never buy another vehicle unless it's a BMW because he, to this day, he's still like, that thing saved my life. So he will buy every single BMW and he'll always ask me what's going on at those dealerships. I don't know any of the people. Should I go to Edmonton and buy it? That's how, like, people are always asking me for my opinion. And I'm like, well, it's a little bit expensive to go all the way to Edmonton to like, freaking service your vehicle. So maybe I'll look out something like that. That's what I always tell people, kind of
Have
thing.
you,
So
have you
yeah, I
maintained a
maintain those
referral partner,
relationships.
like at the dealership? You got someone you
Oh
can
no,
sling
they're
referrals
long
to?
gone now. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they used to be there, but they're long gone now. I now have some new people back at Calgary BMW, so that's pretty
The
sweet.
turnover's so
Yeah,
bad you don't even want to make the effort to memorize their name because they're going to be gone in a few months.
exactly right.
That's
Oh
the
man.
sad part. Um, I wanted to ask you too. So,
Mhm.
um, actually, before I get there, you mentioned working in a funeral home. How long did that last? How long ago was that?
That's some painful stuff. I'm gonna name drop this guy because I know he's probably not gonna listen, but it was pretty classic. I was being taught by, or mentored, I should say, by this guy named Adam Brown. Super nice dude, like wickedly nice. But I didn't know the tiger that was in. I didn't know. And funeral sales, for anybody that can do it, you're an amazing human being, and you're even better than me because like it's a tough thing to do because you're coming to people either A, at their most vulnerable, or B, when they're planning things and maybe one of the family members is just not ready, right? Thinking, oh, we're way too young and stuff like that. So I'm working for Mountain View Memorial and I got to do all sorts of things, man. They showed me how long a fat person is gonna burn in the crematorium, which is pretty cool because like bigger people with more fat content,
It's more
and weird,
fuel.
but they sizzle more. They,
Oh my
they
God.
sizzle more and all sorts of crazy things. And you have to go through like in order to become like a salesperson for their products. So like from funeral planning to like caskets and cremation and blah blah blah, you have to go through the whole gamut of learning. So keep in mind I had a month
Like an
and a
apprenticeship.
half of learning of apprenticeship. Yeah, so then you go into the crematorium, you meet with the person that cremates the bodies and everything like that, and that was an interesting thing. Like I love learning the smell, not great, but I love learning that kind of things. And I was there for like two crazy cremations. One really small, kind of like an adult, but a smaller person, thin and everything like that. And it didn't take all that long. But like a really larger person, it was even interesting getting them into the thing once
Oh
once
boy.
that was done. Like you put them into these boxes that are painful and everything like that. Like people sometimes think that, you take like a crazy metal casket, one of those beautiful caskets that they put into the ground into the crematorium. No, they do not do that. And actually, they try
Recycle it.
to, yeah, they do recycle that.
Put a new coat of paint on it and
Nope,
sell it to the next sucker. Or what?
not even. They just fumigate that thing and then boom, it's ready. Like they might take out the inners or whatever and then redo them that way, but that full on
So,
casket,
so if you
there's
buy,
full rental ones, right?
right. So it's just for the service or for the viewing or whatever, right? So you just pay for the use
Exactly.
of it. You don't own it.
You don't.
So
I see those things that are in the ground are worth stupid amounts of money,
yeah,
dumb money. Like you can like literally lay in them, and I don't know if you've ever been to Japan and slept in a capsule hotel. I'd rather sleep in a coffin than those things.
yeah.
Unreal how comfortable that thing is, and I'm like, why is this comfortable?
They're dead.
This is a freaking casket. It's going away. What's the
They're not
difference? The
gonna
person's
know.
dead. Exactly.
You
But it's
know,
comfy. Those pillows are nice and everything.
did you ever take a nap? You know,
No, 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 no. No, they would. No. I was connected to him at the hip when I was not in a crematorium or like some sort of funeral procession, like learning anything. So no, I did not spend any
right.
of that time in that.
The
The
death
thing that
care
stopped me from
industry.
what's it?
The death care
Yes, the death.
industry.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sorry, finish what you're saying. The
And
thing that stopped you.
but yeah, the thing that stopped me. Here's where I learned that Adam is a tiger. And sorry, his name isn't Adam. It's Alan. Alan Brown.
Please don't
He
sue me,
was a
Alan.
tiger. No, you know, it was classic. So we go in to this person's house, which I'm not, native to. Like I've been doing, door to door sales and everything like that. So to me, that's natural for me. I'm like comfortable. But we sit at the kitchen table. So now, imagine if you will, there's a husband and a wife, both in their probably 40s or whatever. But the husband has a very practical look at the whole entire thing. Honey, we should have all these different like things placed in planned before we pass away because you never know how long you're going to last.
Could be tomorrow.
This is yeah. So tomorrow's never promised. Is something that customer was saying. Very mellow, very even keel. Now Alan starts getting into the spiel. The spiel for Mountain View Memorial is pretty classic. I would almost say Kirby could learn something from Mountain View Memorial, but whatever. And so he gets into the spiel. He starts talking about like, funeral planning and blah, blah, blah. And this is bringing this woman's mortality into focus for him. So she starts breaking down. And for me, I already was getting apprehensive. I was just like, I get where the man is coming from. I felt comfortable, but she was already starting to show emotion and start crying and stuff like that, right? And Alan just kept on forging through. He's like, so do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? The lady starts bawling even more, like she's crying. And he's just like, you know, cremation is much more cost effective and blah, blah, blah. And he was talking all calm and everything like that. And at this point in time, she's like, it's like she's wanting to say, get the hell out of my house, but she's not. She's like holding it back. But then he's like, oh, for your final resting place, we can put you into this. So when he's pushing cremation, there's like these crazy, I don't know,
Urns?
uh, areas where you can put your urn, right? You know what I mean?
Oh,
So a
like a
place
crypt.
where the family can go and yes, kind of like a crypt. Not quite a
Right.
crypt, but I can't remember what the hell the term is.
Like
But
when you store your mug at the pub.
exactly.
Yeah.
So your place in eternity is inside this. And then she starts losing it. So she's like, you're so heartless and blah, blah, blah. And he keeps
Oof.
on going through the thing. And he turns to me, literally, while this lady is speaking, and he whispers to me, he's like, don't worry. It's mostly like this. But don't worry. Just keep going. And at this point in time, I'm like, glazed over because this lady is crying. She's trying to kick us out. And this fucking guy makes the sale. I was thinking, there is no. This lady's asking us to leave. But because the husband was such a calm dude and he's just taking in all the stuff, but I'm so fixated on the lady. She's animated, she's crying, and she's all over the place. I'm like, fuck, there's no way. And I mean, the husband dropped like, well, I mean, not at that one sitting, but he signed a contract for over 25 grand, man. That was for him and his wife. And I was like, how the hell did he just forge through this? And I after that, I had a conversation with Alan in his car. And I was like, dude, I don't know if I can do what you did.
No
Like, he's like,
shit.
oh, don't worry. You gotta come more, Milk. Come with me to some more. Because this is probably, I think it was only my second, or maybe it was, yeah, I think it was only my second thing. And you know how these people ended up hearing about our services is that they won a draw because they put their business cards
Oh
into like this
no.
fishbowl at this place, and then their name is picked up. And really, I mean, like any other sales, it's just like getting people's contact information and then you call them. And that's where I learned how to do like a lot of cold calling and stuff like that, but with no fear because like my shit is like the ultimate. And I was kind of shocked at how many people were willing to talk, but when you get in their door, oof, it was kind of like this lady. That's what I was perceiving in my head. I didn't do all that many of those like ride-alongs into people because that, frankly, that lady situation, well, I was sick to my stomach. I was like, how do you do this? And he just kept on forging through and failed at that point. And I would have been like, you know what? You're not ready yet.
You would have
Why don't
talked
we
her out of the sale.
reconvene? For sure, I would have. For sure. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that
he
takes a
just,
cast iron constitution to make that sale, man. Holy shit. You gotta
he
like
was getting
leave your
emotional.
soul in the car.
Totally, right? Like, and the things she was saying is stuff like that. Do you have no soul? Why are you doing this? You guys should leave. Stuff like that. And he just
Just hammers through it.
plowed on through. He's like, oh, we'll get to the end. Don't worry. Allow me to finish. These are the things he's saying. Why this lady's going frantic. And I'm like, I can't do that.
This
I
ain't for
just
me.
can't. And the money was ridiculous.
Oh, sure.
That commission, so crazy. Like,
And the upsells. I always think of that industry as kind of predatory because like you said, that you got people in a very very vulnerable state, and like you're upselling them to the nicer casket for final resting place for their loved one or whatever. Like,
absolutely. And something that like even brought back memories of Mountain View Memorial is like when I was on the other side when my father-in-law passed like 2 years ago, and then I remember, man, they are predators, right? Like, my mother-in-law is at a very vulnerable place. I just got off a plane. Her kids are with her and stuff like that, and she's being forced to make all these decisions. And I get it that she has to make these decisions, but that's besides the point. It's not an easy thing. Like it was so sudden, and they're like, oh, you know, they would say things to the effect of, well, if you really love him, you'll get this. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I remember shit like that from Alan. He's just like, well, he wouldn't say like, depending on the level of love you have, but he'd be like, you know, if he is a more, what would he say, like a more prestigious human being, you'll want to go with something like this. And then that casket is
that's
like, you know,
suggestive
he'd
selling.
show that, oh, all the time. And when those emotions are running, people are like, well, I don't want to be cheap.
It's just money.
I want to, yeah, but
Damn.
it's a lot of fucking money, man. Like, it's so crazy.
I
But
kind of
yeah,
wondered,
I mean,
during the actual
mhm,
service, like that's probably something that you're selling too, is like a nice service for someone's loved one. I've been to a couple of those, and the staff that are there, I feel like maybe I just imagine this, but I feel like they've like have this very kind of practiced, rehearsed kind of like somber face. Like,
we're,
did they teach you to put on to look kind of somber?
yes, and they've told me every so, so every contract, hypothetically, had I signed any contract, I'd have to be there for that client. So, like, you're as a funeral planner or whatever, you're pretty much there from start to finish to make sure that everything goes like according to plan. And I was like, I'm not even sure I'm ready to see that level of death kind of thing. Because in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be seeing death all the time now. Do I want to do that? And yes, you're correct. Like, the staff is taught to be very, they're helpful, but they don't really make eye contact like, say, your regular server or anything like that. It's kind of like it's a somber time, so they don't want to. I forget what they were saying about it, but it's like it's almost like locking eyes with a dog or something like that. Maybe it's just like, no, it's not the time. What you want to do is present a submissive kind of um, demeanor when you're serving the people and everything like that. So you're just there as an accompaniment or to support them kind of deal. So you
Right.
can't come off to like cereal or to whatever. It's just here is your food, or they'll present like the crazy spread, and then the staff is just there standing in the back waiting for to clear anything and stuff like that. So very
You
kind
keep
of
your
somber.
hands
At least
behind your
that's kind
back
of
and your eyes
my
down.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I wonder,
Very
like,
submissive.
those guys like go in the back and joke. you see, you see the chick in the third
Because I
row.
mean, I'm sure they do. I wasn't privy to any of that, but I'm sure they do because I mean, you kind of like the longer you work, because like keep in mind, somebody like Alan, he had already been working there for I want to say 12, 15 years. So like once you're in it. And I was just like, you couldn't even see 15 minutes ahead sometimes when I was like working at that thing. Like BMW, I could always, you know, look at the next day. Oh, we're gonna have a private sale. Oh, sweet, I can make hay there. But with this, is just like the cold calling wasn't bad, but getting into people's houses and then when the actual death happened, it's just it's awful. It gave me a pit in my stomach, and I was like, "Oh, the money's so good," and my wife's like, "You keep on telling yourself. Are you trying to convince yourself that?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"I think I am. I literally think I am." So that's why
And,
I stopped doing that. It was tough, man.
and ultimately, for someone that's making their living that way, it's your job that you're making your living, right? But I love that you come away with that, actually with a greater respect for that guy and a greater respect for someone that can do that job. Cause yeah, that takes, that takes an iron will for sure.
Oh yeah, it takes like I don't even know. It takes some sort of like block out everything. She's not emotional or mad at you kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it felt like I know she wasn't mad at me, but it felt like a personal attack. And sometimes you don't want to be in that all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's just like, how can you say these things, or how can you be offering this, and how are like it's he had kind of like a glib demeanor
That's not
in
helping.
terms of like, yeah, but I think you kind of have to. You kind of have to
Yeah.
just have like that laissez faire. It's okay.
Doing my
You'll
job.
get through this because you need it, right?
Yeah.
He always said it was something everybody needs, and he's not wrong. It's like, oof,
It
it's
ain't
tough.
personal. Yeah, but it's hard to turn that off, right? Well,
Oh,
um,
sure, yeah.
we're uh, we're coming up on an hour. It's been a great chat, but I do want to ask you one more thing, and then I'll let you get on with
Yeah,
your day. I
man.
know you got clients to look after and stuff.
No
Um,
worries. Yeah.
but I just wanted just kind of to tie it all together. Like um, you've done all this different sales jobs across different industries, and you come around full circle, and
Mhm.
you go back to kind of your specialty, and you start your own thing, and you're your own boss. I think maybe I should ask, is that, do you think that's maybe a natural path for people who work in sales? And part two of that question is, are sales skills a prerequisite for being an entrepreneur?
Oh, I think 100% it is. The thing I feel that salespeople share with entrepreneurs is that determination to just keep on going. Like if you're looking at your check every bi-weekly or every month, whenever you get paid and stuff like that, and you're concerned, you're not a salesperson. You should not be in sales at that point in time, or at least commission sales, I say. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're, I remember having a conversation with, you'll remember this guy, Rob, in parts. And I was like, man, you've been here for such a long time. Why don't you come and do some sort of commission sales? And he said something that resonated with me for a long, long time. He said, I like to know what I'm getting paid. For me, that has never been a consequence. I've always thought that I'll always be able to earn more money. So whether I have to put in a little more effort to do to do what I need to do, there is always, I'll never forget the blank check scenario. So even if when I was at BMW and sometimes like maybe I had a struggling month like February, I'd always just think, oh, it's a marathon. So yeah, I sucked in February. As long as by the end of the marathon, December, I've earned where I think I should be, I'm good. So if the whole year was like that, like I completely failed, then yeah, then I would question myself and be like, no, I shouldn't be in sales. But I think sales takes self direction and it's difficult. Like even me, I procrastinate like a motherfucker because you know what? I should be selling retail. I should be selling real estate with you and stuff like that. But no, I procrastinated because oh, it's not because I was fear of the money, not at all. But in my head, I'm like, oh, I missed the boat kind of thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm always thinking in my head, and that's what prevented me from going in doing that stuff.
There's more
But
boats.
like has
The boats keep coming.
yeah, exactly, right? And that's the thing. And like and something that you even told me is like if you're good enough, you will do it. And those skills I feel are most important. Being able to be self-corrected because nobody's going to push you when you're in sales. It's like, yeah, your sales managers are going to push you, but they'll only push you so far because they'll be like, you know what, if you're not cutting it, get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality of it, right? So you have to always be making progressions. And I think entrepreneurs know how to do that. And the one thing salespeople know better than anybody is no is the number one word that we'll always hear. And how does no affect you? No doesn't affect me at all. Like people tell me no all the time, but then I just keep on going and asking for something. And you taught me that, you got to always ask for the sale. Actually, one of the most valuable lessons you've ever told me is spend their money, not your own. You know how effective and how much that helped me? Like, I'm not even kidding. Because first, I remember dealing with some dude that was faced with a payment of like $1,700 a month on the car. And I'm like, I can't afford this. And I'm like, wait a second, what did Taylor say? Don't
Ain't my
spend my
fucking
own
money.
money. It's not my money. Sell the sizzle, baby. So I
Yeah.
sold the sizzle. He paid the $1,700 and it made no sense to me. But then afterwards, when more and more people were doing that, I was like, yeah, I really do this. Like I always spend my own money and everything like that. And that makes no sense. So once I learned that, and I think entrepreneurs should always learn that, when you're selling a product to somebody, you don't know what their budget is. They could look like a bum and they could have so much money. So present them the things, sell them yourself because that's what people are buying. They're buying you. So whether it is you're being an entrepreneur and you're selling your business and you're trying to build your business and stuff like that, you're all about, selling who you are. What do you bring to the table kind of thing, right? And
It doesn't matter what you're selling then, with knives or vacuum
exactly.
cleaners. Well, I'm glad
Well,
that I
apparently
was,
funerals.
or funerals. Yeah. Other than that, I'm glad that I left an impression on you. That's very flattering to me. But the guy that really left an impression on you is that Kirby vacuum pimp that told that told you can make whatever you want. That
Oh shit,
obviously
yeah, man.
landed hard with you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I mean, to Kirby. So I was selling Kirby's in 1998, basically.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how long ago that? It's people that are, probably listening to this podcast that are younger
Weren't born
than
yet.
my sales career, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things, man. Yeah. But that guy had gusto, dude. Oh. And then he became an area manager and all sorts of stuff while he brought in people like myself. And kudos to him to getting me on there when I'm trying to sell him knives. Like, I'll never forget that. I was even cutting the leather and all sorts of stuff because Cutco knives, you can't dull them and everything like that. And this guy's like, I got something for you. And
Pimping
then
ain't easy, right?
that was it. Oh, yeah, man.
You know,
Totally,
I
dude.
do that too. And people come to my door to sell me something. If they got game, I want to talk to them. Like, I've been trying to find this guy. I don't know if I ever told you about him. He's this Jamaican guy named O'Shane, and he came to my door selling
Ooh.
frozen meat, and he gave me the best like sales pitch I've ever seen. It was like hands on and enthusiastic. I was like, man, I gotta. And they fired him. I don't know where he ended up. I'm trying to find this guy. He's off the radar, but no,
Isn't it
I love
from
that.
Meat Guys?
Yeah.
I think that's the Meat Guys guy. Yeah?
Did he come to
Well,
your door
dude,
too?
no, well, I get Elena, but I
Yeah.
know that so the Meat Guys has like crazy turnover and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and my buddy that also lives up in Airdrie or whatever, right? He got that dude, and he was just like, "Hey, have these people come to your door?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I got a woman named Elena
And
always
she's like
comes to my
Russian or
door."
something,
Man,
right?
yeah. Oh, she is tough, dude. It's
Yeah.
funny. So yes, was it yesterday? No, I want to say it's a couple days ago, right? I was driving out and about and stuff like that. This woman is hard. She rings the doorbell, so it comes up on my door cam and
You're like, oh
everything like
fuck.
that. And immediately that woman calls me. Like
Oh no.
immediately, she's
Busted.
and she leaves me a message. Like I wasn't at home. My wife was at home, but my wife is not going to answer the door for the Meat Guys all the time because, like, I mean, they're worse than Costco, man.
Oh
They come
yeah.
to your door, you're spending $400 or $500. Easy,
The
easy,
first
man.
time that
Like,
guy came, I spent $700. I filled my freezer. Most of it wasn't even
oh yeah.
good.
And they're all like, "Oh, do you want the scallops? Oh, you know what goes good with scallops? Have
Yeah.
some fish." This is how Lena does her thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Shit, I can't deal with it." Like I'm a salesperson, and I'll buy that stuff, right? So I'm like, "Nope, I can't. I gotta avoid her." So yeah, she knows the cadence, right? She'll call, she'll bring the thing. Nobody comes to the door. She's calling me straight away. When are you coming home? So she left me a message. She's like,
Yeah.
"When are you gonna be at home? I have some meats for you." I was like, "Oh fuck,
Shit.
this lady is hard. She's
Yeah.
hard, dude."
She's
Those
killing it.
meat people are crazy. They are really good.
The meat guys. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the next gig. Well, either real
there you
estate
go.
or frozen meat. I don't know. Get your own
No, it should be
franchise.
real estate. I think.
I come
Maybe.
work with me. That'll be a lot of fun.
Oh
You can
yeah,
still
dude.
sell
I
blinds.
would love it. Yeah. Oh, I know the amount of realtors I know I should be selling blinds through you guys all the time. Okay. No, I don't. I just do
I'm
my
on it.
own little thing through Facebook and stuff and boom, get her done.
Sky's the limit, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go.
Shit. Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun, and happy to see you doing well and being your own boss and out there killing it. And yeah, thanks for doing this for me.
No worries. No, I appreciate you. Hey, I wanted my 5 minutes of fame. If I can get it with my TK, hey man,
Oh
why
yeah,
not?
you're
Let's
you're
do
a celebrity now. Cool.
it. Hope so. At
Thanks,
least
Malcolm.
for two seconds. No worries.
Yeah, you get two
Thank you.
seconds. Cheers.